We are continuing on to Hawai'i 1 in the Blue Marlin. We're going to start off in Hilo. We're on the big island of Hawaii. The speed of the game has been increased for the purpose of this Let's Play to make it shorter and a little bit more watchable on the viewer's end. All sound has been added in post, so you will not hear the music that's playing in the game. You won't hear the sound effects from the game, but I will add in some random tunes from the Blue Marlin in post so you can get a feel for things. That will take out the horrible clinking, clunking sound of the line getting tight, and also the sound of the boat driving around. The sequences of catching fish are played back in real time, but the boat driving sequences have been sped up to 4 times speed for your information. I've got the manual of the Blue Marlin up here, and while we're working on the first day of Hawai'i 1, I wanted to read some funny, poorly translated lines about some of these fish, as we've hooked our first marlin here, and this one is a slow fight until I get the very exhausted. So that's one of the random lucky breaks you can get. You can see the sweat mark on the fish down there in the bottom right corner. That means the fish is getting tired. Here I have to make a decision about what to do when the fish is trying to cut the line on the prop. I chose correctly, and as a result, get the fish in. If I had chosen incorrectly, the line immediately snaps. 800-pound striped marlin. Excellent. Well, let's start with that one. Striped marlin from the manual. This beautifully striped member of the sailfish family is smaller than other marlin and, though powerful, is not as active during struggle. Their average size is 6 feet in length, and they weigh between 150 and 250 pounds. So much for that, catching these 800-pound striped marlin. The Blue Marlin description, as we've got another billfish hooked. This is a migratory fish found primarily in the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans. That's very helpful, thank you, that's very specific. And is the most popular fish among saltwater anglers. During the struggle, this fish changes color to an intense fluorescent blue, hence the name Blue Marlin. The whole body length is between 6 and 15 feet, that's helpful. And they weigh between 250 and 500 pounds. The best lure is skirt or live bait. Very, very, very interesting. So, quick about the mechanics in this game, if this is your first video watching this one. In the bottom right corner, I've given up on this fish because it was clear I wasn't going to get it in with my character's strength. The bottom right corner, you can see how well the fish is hooked. This fish down here, the line's not moving, it's solid, he's hooked very well. I got the random go for it, the fish is exhausted bonus, so I get to drag him in quickly. He had the 2 sweat marks over his head, that's how you know that he's hurting. There we go, so I've caught that barracuda and my body strength is level AA now. When you first begin the game, all of your stats are at level D, and you can go from D, C, B, A, and then AA. Muscle power, according to the manual, increases by catching as many fish as you can. Body strength increases as the player catches bigger fish. This level indicates how long a player can fight, combining time and the fish's weight. Now that's a very strange sentence. I'm not quite sure how to interpret that one. And then skill is the final one, and this is the toughest one to level up. Increases as the player achieves success in overcoming dilemmas. Examples, if the reel is smoking, what do you do? So when you get to those events where you have to make a decision, I have a feeling, from what I've read in the manual and when I click around, this is a Dorado, I'm not going to keep them, I'm just trying to build my level up here on the Hawai'i 1, which is the second day of the Blue Marlin. I have a feeling that there isn't always one right choice and one wrong choice. I have a feeling that sometimes both choices are wrong. And when I've tested this with an emulator, with save states, and at each event trying to find the correct answer, I find that sometimes an answer will be wrong 4 or 5 times in a row on the same event, and then suddenly it will be right. And I can do that with choosing the same one or alternating. So I think that as you gain skill levels, I'm going to switch locations here. We're on the big island of Hawaii. Here's what it says about the big island of Hawaii in the manual. Hawaii is the largest of the Hawaiian Islands. The famous volcano Kailua is located on the scenic southeast portion of the island. Kailua on the Kona coast has long been known as the premier locale for marlin fishing. Tournaments are held at 3 places:
Kailua Beach, Kawaihae Beach, and Hilo. I'm not sure if I've got that other one. Kawaihae. I'm not sure. I'm very, very bad with these pronunciations. The next day of the tournament, you're on Oahu, and what I think is supposed to be Maui, but it's spelled Kauai here, and it's not Kauai, because that one's the last day. Kauai is the last day. The capital of the state of Hawaii, Honolulu, is located on Oahu. Waikiki Beach is the largest resort area and home to the incredible Don Tiny Bubbles Po. Nice. Located on Maui, so there they got it right in the description, not in the title. See, I caught a fish here. Blue marlin, 600 pounds, and my muscle power is up to B. Very good. On Maui, the towering dormant volcano Haleakala. Tournaments are held at 3 places: Kahului, Kaunakakai, and Honolulu Beach. Excellent. That's going to be day 2 after this day. So to draw a billfish up, you need to follow the schools around with your lure behind them, and then get the fish to come up behind the school. See, this one was too small, looks under 200 pounds, so we let him go. Don't even get a chance to pull him in. That's okay. So you need to get your lure behind a school of fish, and it has to be the correct lure at the correct depth, although I always just use float as the depth. I've never really played around with lure depths. I keep everything on the surface. I do change lures around, though, if I have a school that doesn't have anything behind them. So there's a barracuda. Description of the barracuda: this vicious pike is known for its full mouth of sharp teeth and potentially poisonous flesh. These toothy devils may bite up a line if given a chance. They're approximately 5 feet in length and weigh between 50 to 100 pounds. And then it says in the manual, you will not earn any points for catching one. And it means that you won't get any tournament points, although there isn't really any tournament points. It's just if you can catch a billfish that is one of the marlins, the swordfish, or sailfish of a size big enough that the game decides no one else caught a fish that big that day. So here's another billfish fight. He's in that danger zone of trying to cut the line on the propeller. 300-pound black marlin. For those decision-making spots here, we're going to change locations again, just so we can get some time in at each of them. Kailua, and we're back to quick speed. Those decisions are tough, especially the trying to cut the line on the prop. And if you only gain points by getting the correct answer, which when you're low in those levels, it's hard to get those correct answers, and you have to land the fish. So if you get correct answers, say when the fish is jumping, and you get the wow, did you see it jump, and you get those choices, you may get a couple of those options correct. And then the fish can come in, give you the trying to cut the line on the propeller, choose wrong, lose the fish, no points. So it makes it very difficult, and you see it's tough to get. It takes a lot of blind luck and a lot of fishing to get that level up, the skill level up. I got a fish behind a whale, and you notice there's no tail. It's because it is a tuna. That's kind of a tricky thing the game does, is sometimes when you raise what looks like a billfish behind either a school of fish or a whale or seagulls, it'll be a tuna. So this fish was quite large, but right away I get the go for it. He's very exhausted, just by blind luck. By blind luck, I get that one. We'll pull him in, and you get right away. There we go. Blue marlin weighs about 1,000 pounds. Now that will be a day winner. I get a muscle power level up. Thank you. I ought to fish that big. That'll be a day winner, even on the last day of the game. So that certainly will be my day winner on this one. But I'm going to continue playing just to try to bulk up the levels a little bit before we go on to the next days. As the game progresses and you go on to the next days, Hawaii 2 and Hawaii 3, the last 2 levels, the fishing gets trickier, but also the level layouts get trickier. There's a sailfish. The levels don't have these nice large expanses of open water that you can just follow schools around in. They have a lot more obstacles. They have a lot more islands. The Honolulu level has a bridge that has just a couple of crossings that your boat can go through that kind of cuts the level in half. So they also made the level design of the water tougher in addition to the fish. The last day, what makes the last day difficult is not that the fish are all too big, it's that most of the fish are very small. You'll hook lots of 200 and 300 pounders on the last day in Hawaii, but they are also very large fish there, but they're just a lot more rare. Here on this level, you'll hook bigger fish, and it's more difficult to bring them in because your levels aren't as high. So here I've got another trying to cut the line. And I got severely damaged line on this one, and snap right away. Now if you have a smaller fish on, sometimes it will come back to the fish fighting screen, and you will have a chance to pull them in with line that can suddenly not take as much strain. But if the fish is any size, and when you're fishing at this stage of the game, it ought to be some size, it just snaps right away. So that's one where I don't get points for making the correct decision the first time on the trying to cut the line on the prop, because the second time I lost it. So we'll try and get that skill level and my body levels up a little bit more before we go into weigh on this. But if you're trying to beat the game as quickly as possible, I don't know if there's a speed running community around the Blue Marlin. There's an awful lot of random chance with this. Not something speed runners really look out for, is games that are decided a lot by random chance. Here's an approximately 500-pound swordfish, and there's a pretty wide range. I think it's, when it says 500 pounds, that means it's between 450 and 549, I think is the range there that guy gives you. And I don't know that guy's name. I need to read through the manual or make something up for that guy. He's your buddy. He tells you, I assume that you, the fisher player, the dude that you see at the end of the levels if you beat them. Going to live bait here, but I ran over the whale, knocked him down. I assume that the fisher is driving, and then the guy with the glasses says, "Hey, I feel a bite on your rod," which, as funny as that sounds, that's what he says, because that's how they decided to translate it. But if you run into things, he says, "Careful, the boat can be easily damaged, and if you keep running into things, you have to take the boat back to port, and you lose a couple hours of time." I don't know, not that time really matters too much in this game. You can see it's 10:45 now. I have until 4 o'clock, this game uses a 24-hour clock. Here I lost another one because of a wrong choice on the propeller. But what can you do? And he gives you the encouragement, well, you'll do better next time. I wonder what his name is. He's got the sunglasses. When you go back into port, he says... When you go back to the thing, he says something about you getting tired. I always thought that was really strange. I assume that's another strangely translated line for them. Here we go. We've got very exhausted. So if it's some size, then I can get some points for my body. There we go. 600 swordfish. It's very good. All these fish are really irrelevant to the day. I really don't need to keep any more fish. Once I've got that 1,000-pound blue marlin that's in my hold now, that'll be the day's winner. And there's kind of an invisible threshold for these days. And I don't know if there's a random element to it also, but generally on the first day, if you can get one that's in the 500 or 600 range, that'll win it for you. And then about 700 this day, 800, and then 900 as you get farther and farther. But a 1,000-pounder will win on any day. Black Marlin 500. I'm keeping them just so that I can see what their final weights will be, just because I'm curious. So here's another one. Trying to get that one last body level up, and maybe a skill level if we can get a good decision made. Let's see what we've got here. 300 Blue Marlin Muscle Power AA. There we go. So I've got my body levels are maxed out, and I think I'll call it a day on fishing for this one. So I'll weigh up all the small fish. They have different size sprites depending on how they weigh. If you have something that's not a billfish, it doesn't go to a weighing scene. But as you get larger ones, you'll see their bill breaks the cement as you get larger ones. When we get to the 800 pound, I think we'll see one that the bill is too big. Break through that floor, and you see the guy with the hat looks different directions depending on the size of the fish. Here's that night size one, 785. And this is going to be the day winner. So I'll let you watch out the rest. You can see that number crank up for my win. If you want to write down my password and continue with Let's Play, you may.